Detangling TEASY-lights can be one of the most daunting parts about doing a foliage or lived-in color service, and it tends to become one of the main reasons that a lot of stylists just completely abandon TEASY-lights altogether or just never even try to do them. And in my opinion, this would be a huge mistake. By the way, if you're new here, hi, my name is Lauren. I love on this channel to help hairstylists just become a lot more confident with modern foiling techniques so they can feel proud of the work that they are doing and start to earn six figures behind the chair. Hit that like button if this is one of your main goals this year. In this video today, I want to share with you some of my most important techniques when it comes to detangling hair so that you don't have to be stressed out about this process and so that you are confident that you are not damaging the client's hair. But before I do that, I want to address a really common question that I get asked all the time when it comes to TEASY-lights, and that is, can't I just do AIRTOUCH? Isn't it just going to give me the exact same result? And I completely understand why you would ask that question. If you can get the exact same result by just doing blow dryer, AIRTOUCH process, why would you even bother with doing all this teasing and detangling at all? By the way, if you don't know what AIRTOUCH is at all, you're gonna wanna check out this video in the card and you'll see me do a demonstration on AIRTOUCH. But essentially what it is using the blow dryer to basically create a fine baby light weave, but you're using the blow dryer instead of a weaving comb. And it gives really beautiful results. And so if you wanna check that out, I do have that video available for you here. Both TEASY-lights and AIRTOUCH give extremely beautiful results, but I do feel that they are very different and they have different benefits. So I want to explain that for you real quick, and then I'm also just going to give you some suggestions on how to use each. So when it comes to AIRTOUCH, a lot of people compare AIRTOUCH to TEASY-lights because it is able to give you such a beautiful blend. But I actually would compare AIRTOUCH to basically what baby lights do. If you take a really fine section, you skim the top, you do a really fine baby light, that's essentially what it looks like if you do AIRTOUCH. Now I know there's gonna be some AIRTOUCH apologists that come at me in the comments and say, no, it's totally different, it looks completely different. But honestly, in my opinion, they look really similar. AIRTOUCH is a really fun way to do it. It also gives you very exact results. So it is very nice for when you're going back through the hair for maybe a second application, you're able to blow dry the hair and get the exact same section that you took last time, so you're not overlapping anything. So that's one huge benefit of AIRTOUCH, and I think it does give absolutely beautiful results. But I do think it's very different than doing TEASY-lights. So with TEASY-lights, I believe you just have so much more variation. So with TEASY-lights, you are creating that beautiful blend, but you're also controlling how much of dimension that you're going to leave at the root. Now, if you're doing AIRTOUCH and you're trying to leave dimension at the root, it's just going to look like there's a little bit of a line of demarcation. Even if you feather it and things like that, you're gonna see exactly where the lightener stopped. When you're doing back-combed TEASY-lights, what happens is you have all of these strands of hair, they're all together like this. When you back comb it, there's alternate lengths that you're left with. So some of the lightener is going to end up on the ends down here, some of it's going to end up on the ends up here. When it all comes down together, you have a really nice blend. So with TEASY-lights, you're able to alternate the lengths that the lightener is traveling down to. So that's one major difference with TEASY-lights and AIRTOUCH. It's not all one length. And you could vary the lengths just in one section. Whereas with AIRTOUCH, you would have to do multiple sections to get the lightener to fall at different lengths. The other thing about TEASY-lights that I love as far as variation that I could create is the fact that you can take a bunch of different hair from different areas of the head. When you back comb it, you're teasing all of that into a small section, but you're getting strands from each part of the head. If you did a bigger section, you're just teasing it down into a finer section. So I really love that about TEASY-lights as well. The other thing that you can do with TEASY-lights is create bold pops of brightness in the ends. With AIRTOUCH, you're basically just doing root to end diffuse lightness. And this is so beautiful for so many different reasons, but I'm just trying to highlight to you that there are differences between the two, and you can't always just use one for everything. So what I like to do is actually use AIRTOUCH in some parts of the hair and TEASY-lights in other parts of the hair. And I would base that on basically what I just explained before, how much depth you want to leave at the root and how much variation and how high you want to bring up the lightener. One of the places that I absolutely love to use AIRTOUCH is right around the face. So right around the face where I want to see brightness all the way up to the root, but I don't want a like really big chunky money piece. I love to use AIRTOUCH for that because I know I'm going to get a very smooth beautiful diffuse blend from roots to ends. I may even go in between that and do some back combing, so I have a little bit of pops of brightness at the end, but I have that beautiful blend into the root from the AIRTOUCH without having to do any type of root tap or root shade or any of that. And then in the areas where I want to see more depth and dimension and just alternating peaks and valleys in the hair, that's where I like to use a lot of TEASY-lights. I can determine how high I want to bring up the TEASY-light. I can do it all the way to the root if I want, or I can just do the ends if I want. So I like to do more TEASY-lights around the back of the hair, and then wherever I want that really fine detail to the root, that's where I like to do AIRTOUCH. So you can even use both of these techniques just on one head of hair to give you really beautiful customized results that are going to blend perfect every time. So hopefully I've warmed you up to the idea that maybe TEASY-lights are not the worst thing in the world, that there is still use for them despite this really cool technique called AIRTOUCH. So in this video, let's try to demystify the detangling process, and let me give you some important tips so that you don't have to be stressed about this ever again. So my first tip when it comes to having success with detangling is everything starts with the application. You want to be clear on exactly what your objective is when you're backcombing so that you're not just creating a big nest in the hair. So what I would do is ask yourself these 4 questions. What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to create depth? Are you trying to vary the lengths that the lightener falls? Are you trying to slightly diffuse the root? Or are you trying to add boldness? So for example, if I'm just diffusing the root, it only requires a slight tease at the top. And honestly, you can make this the majority of your placement map, which makes detangling a lot quicker. A slight tease at the root comes out almost instantly, and you don't really have to do much to get it out. So I do this in the crown area and the face frame where I want the product to go as close as possible to the root. The part that takes the longest to detangle is when you're adding a significant amount of depth to the root. You have to do a lot of back combing like you see in this video here, and I try to limit this to just a few large panels in the back. That way I'm not having to do so much detangling all over the head. I really just have to focus on the back with most of my detangling efforts. So right off the bat, you've made her detangling much easier by being intentional about what you are doing with each back comb section. You also want to make sure to brush out the section or comb through the section before you start teasing so you don't have unnecessary detangling. Think of the tease as simply just to move hair out of the way. You're not trying to create fluff. So combing out the section before you tease and doing a few smooth motions will help make the detangling process much easier. So just so you know, I did do a full breakdown of this look for you guys. In this video, I'm just focusing on the detangling, but I did do a full breakdown on this look with formulas, placement, all of that. And if you're interested in that, you can click on the card at the top of the screen. So at the bowl, the first thing that you'll notice is the hair is really big and expanded. And that's because there's going to be some matting from the back combing that we did, and it's mostly going to be in the back because that's where we kept the most depth. So the first thing that you want to do is not grab a wet brush and start brushing through it. This is going to be painful for your client, and it does not really do much. You do not want to give your client a bad experience with the detangling process because they're never going to want to come see you again. Or they'll start telling you which techniques to use so that they can avoid doing this altogether. So instead of taking a brush and trying to brush this out, the first thing that you want to do is actually take your fingers and start separating out the mats. This is the majority of the time that I'll spend detangling, is taking out the mats with my fingers, not with a brush. I do this by putting my fingers directly on the tangle. So instead of putting my fingers above the tangle and trying to pull it apart, I put my fingers directly on the solid part of the knot and I start pulling it apart. It starts coming apart very easily if you do small sections. If you try to do too much at once, you're going to get overwhelmed and frustrated, like how it feels when you try to detangle a necklace. So make sure to do this in small sections and just be patient. It does come apart very easily. Now, timing. This can take anywhere between 2 minutes to 30 minutes, and I find that you're going to prepare for a longer detangling time with clients who just have a lot of hair. I don't find the texture matters quite as much. It's just having a lot of hair and really long hair. So if you have clients coming in who have a ton of hair, that's probably going to take you 30 minutes. So you should just plan accordingly. So once you've got the majority of the matting out, then you can start going in with a brush and combing it out. If you feel any resistance at all, you want to stop. You need to do more dematting, because if you don't get out those mats properly first, the knots will start to cinch down and get even tighter, and then you're at risk of damaging the hair. So when it's time to start actually using a brush, I always reach for my Mason Pearson. Now this is a very expensive brush, but I've had this for about 12 years. So in my opinion, it's completely worth the investment, because what I love about it is the fact that it grazes over tangles rather than getting hung up in them. When I use this brush for detangling, clients are always surprised and they say they feel nothing, and that it actually kind of feels relaxing while I'm doing the detangling process. So that is huge. And that's because this brush does not pull hair. The Mason Pearson brush does not pull hair, and that's because of the combination of a really soft cushion paired with alternating types of bristles with nylon and boar bristle, and it doesn't have little balls at the ends of the bristles. The other thing to note here is that probably one of the most important aspects is that I basically leave some sort of mask or deep conditioner in the hair while I'm detangling. This way I'm delivering a treatment that needs to process anyways while I'm detangling the hair and making my job easier, so there is no time wasted when you are detangling because you are doing a treatment at the same time. And it also helps to detangle the hair as well. Any type of mask or conditioner is going to soften up tangles as well. So the look that I did on this model that I'm working on in this video, I actually did film for you guys. So you're going to be able to see the full placement, formulas, all of that in the video that's on the screen right here. It actually was a little bit of a box dye color correction. So that'll be fun for you to check out. If you guys are interested, just go ahead and click the video on the screen. My name is Lauren, and I just want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in the next video.